too.
Long time no see. So, is there anything that has been coming up for you lately that's kind of top of the mind that you want to chat about today?
Well, being in January and, the typical focus being on, you know, how I want this year to look.
Mm-hmm.
We talked in our last episode about intentions versus resolutions and how I want to be and how I want to show up. And so I think just really connected to that is accountability. And that's one that I circle back to so much through the year, through my own recovery needs, through work with clients. And there's so many nuances, right, about how to hold myself accountable. When do I hold myself accountable? When do I need someone else to hold me accountable? Or when is it I'm caretaking and not actually holding someone else accountable? And just kind of sifting through some of those and figuring out what healthy accountability looks like.
Yeah. I feel like accountability is one of those big topics of just in my own recovery where it was the thing that I avoided the longest. Because in my mind, accountability is also about ownership and really especially that internal accountability of holding myself accountable to what I say.
Yeah.
And that means really needing to get honest with myself.
Yeah.
Which is very hard because I'm very good at lying to myself.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more about what accountability actually is when we talk to each other about it, or when we talk to clients about it? Like, what do we mean when we say accountability?
Yeah, for me, I think about alignment, about making sure that I am in alignment with the way I want to be and the way I want to show up. And that if I am not in alignment, I either with myself am able to be self-aware and honest enough to own that. Or if I'm in a space where I'm struggling with that, I have someone outside of me that is not a direct participant in my pathology to be able to reflect it to me in a direct but loving way that I can receive and adjust from. And I say someone external that doesn't participate in my pathology because so many of my my support system, they do.
Yep.
When I think about who's my support system, the first people that come to mind for a lot are family members, my husband, my mom, my sister, my brother, my whoever. And the truth of it is, those people, for most things, are a little too close for true accountability because they have a vested interest in what they want me to do or what they want to see happen, on whether or not I meet my goals, on whether or not I feel good about myself. So it doesn't have the degree of objectivity that really feels like accountability versus like caretaking.
When I've tried to use my husband as an accountability partner in the past, I've received it more as criticism. And then I get really defensive, even though I asked him to do it.
Right.
I get really defensive, and I have a really hard time receiving it as like love and support. And there is no objectivity there. It's you're telling me what to do.
Right.
Or you're calling me out of my shit and it doesn't feel good and I don't like you anymore. Like
like how many cups of water have you had to drink today? Get the fuck out.
Yeah. Why are you counting?
Even though I asked you to ask me about my water versus someone in my recovery network saying, and how many cups of water have you had today? And I'm not going to get that defensive reaction. I'm going to be like, oh shit, I didn't do good with that today. My bottle's still sitting here. It's completely full. Because there is that other degree of emotional connection and bias in complication of accountability. He is my partner for a lot of things. My husband is my partner for a lot of things. He's my life partner. He's not my accountability partner. Same thing for my sister or my mom or whoever else that has to, if I'm looking for external accountability, it has to be coming from a place that I don't receive as judgment or criticism.
Yeah. See, the other thing that's coming up for me is earlier on in my recovery, I needed more external accountability than I do now. And that's not to say that I don't need it now, because I definitely do. But it's more, it looks different now than in the beginning. In the beginning, I remember having a conversation with one of my support people, and she was saying, like, I feel like I'm loving you more than you're loving you right now. And like, just thinking back on that and the weight of like that, I needed the external accountability because I had no internal accountability. And now I will tell on myself to my people and be like, hey, guess what I did? Yay. Or guess what I did?
Yeah.
And it's more of like, I just need to say it for accountability's sake. I don't need anything around it. And just realizing, like, once I stopped lying, like I keep saying lying to myself, it's so much more than that. It's like the parts of me that were so good at keeping me safe and framing my perception in such a way that it kept me safe, but isn't keeping me healthy.
Yeah.
That's, they needed to be addressed first.
Yeah.
And
well, sure, because when those developed, right, the goal that I had was to survive.
Yeah.
And at this stage of life, survival isn't a question. It's no longer about ensuring survival, because that's what my recovery supports me in keeping boundaries around. It's about whether or not I'm walking out what thriving in my life looks like.
Yeah.
And whether or not that is reflected in a way that has a true mirror, or whether or not that's reflected in a way that that I don't feel like I can receive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of ties into, like, when I think of accountability, I think of ownership, of like owning my recovery, owning the responsibility for myself. And part of that is holding myself accountable of, do I say yes when I want to say no? And that's a pattern for me. I'm a people pleaser, and being able to pull in some tools that help me check myself.
Yeah.
And check in with myself, and like a pause of just, I'm going to pause before I answer this text message, and like, what feels good. I'm holding myself accountable to my commitment to myself first.
Yeah. I agree with what you were saying earlier about the internal accountability being more present now, a little further into the walk of recovery, because I do have a little more solid understanding of what my journey entails.
Yeah.
And I think it's still something that there's ebb and flow with, because I have a lot of blind spots.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even when I think I'm holding myself internally accountable, or I'm trying to, something's showing up in a blind spot that someone in my support community may notice before I do.
Yeah.
And so, having both directions to have that, hey, what do you think about this? Or I noticed this. but then reclaiming it in internal accountability and being able to walk it out from there for myself.
Yeah.
I remember, do you remember a few weeks ago, I sent you a message where I was like, Jen, you okay? You've done a lot of Canva.
Yep. No, I'm fully in my pathology and I'm avoiding all the things. Thank you for the accountability.
A really beautiful Canva coming out.
You know, I'm hiding when. Yeah. Well, and I think that kind of goes back to a couple podcasts ago when we were talking about relapse, and we're talking about coping versus like pathology and numbing, and you talking about blind spots. Now sometimes I might even be able to see that I'm relapsing, like my behaviors, and like I'm not okay. But because I'm starting to relapse, it's even harder to reach out for that support. And so to have that external accountability of somebody to call me on my shit lovingly, it makes it okay. Like I for me, it makes it feel okay. Like I feel seen, which is really scary and also really supportive and loving at the same time, because it's what I crave, and what I fear. And I mean, yeah, so sometimes for me, it's the blind spots. I don't know that it's how I can't see what I can't see, but it's sometimes for me, it's also, I see it and I'm like, I feel powerless.
Yeah.
And I need help, but I don't, like, because I'm in a relapse, I don't know how to ask for that.
Yeah. Because my default programming is pathology. And when I am in autopilot, it just defaults back to there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So who are we allowed to be accountable to and for? And yeah, who are allowed to be an accountability partner for?
Honestly, for me, I think my best accountability partners are people who I know are also walking their own journey of recovery. People who have the same type of language that I have, who the lens that they're looking through is similar to mine, even though they're looking at their own journey. When I'm held accountable by someone who isn't showing up in their own recovery, a lot of times I get really irritable around that, because that's when it does show up as icky.
Yeah.
That it doesn't come across as accountability. And typically, if it is someone who is walking a parallel recovery journey, the awareness of how to offer accountability and then how to step back is just in a different level.
Yeah. Someone who's not going to rescue or fix or solve or gloss over or try to lighten the mood. And yeah. Someone who will sit in the shit and just sit there with you. Or say, hey, you're sitting in shit. You might want to do something about that. And your screen froze. I don't know if that's just on my end or not.
Oh.
Oh.
Am I back?
You're back. You're a little grainy, but you're back.
Spinny wheel that said lost network connection.
Yeah. I'll cut it. That's fine.
Sorry.
It's okay. All right. So can't be my husband's accountability partner, can't be my sister's accountability partner. Can be some fellow traveler's accountability partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. People in my support network.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also feels really good when it's reciprocal, when it's not just Like, okay, you're my accountability partner. You're going to be there for me, but to be able to also return the favor.
Absolutely. And to be able to return the favor from someone that, like you said, is a fellow traveler and can see through when that for me is not accountability in support of them. It's accountability in my pathology of needing to fix or control.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for chatting with me today.
Absolutely.
See you all next time.
See you next time.